All right. Thanks everyone for joining us this evening. We are excited to have you here for another AI in College Admissions webinar. Tonight we are joined by Maggie Lucas from the Marlborough School, Claire Wilkins from the German Swiss International School of Hong Kong, and Sara and Miranda from the Chadwick School, who are going to share with us about their guide that they produced for Revolution Prep on 6 prompts for college counseling. So take it away, ladies.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming. Good to see you. Think we're gonna, Jasmine kind of approached us about putting this together because we've been doing some AI exploration, and we partnered up with RevPrep to actually create kind of like a beginner's AI guide in ways that we've already used AI. So I think we'll start today. We'll each introduce ourselves and then we'll kind of dive into the guide, and I'll screen share. We also have a link so we can share the guide with you as well. But I'll start off. My name is Maggie. I am Dean of College Counseling at the Marlborough School in Los Angeles, California. And, if I was to share a little bit about my own journey with AI, I would say that, it's something that I very slowly have been dabbling into. And as I have been dabbling into it, have realized there actually are a lot of practical uses in our roles in high schools. I think that there are parts of AI that have come out and have been understandably, more of maybe the downsides of AI, especially when it comes to our students and plagiarism and generating new ideas and all of that. And I think that once I personally was able to kind of take a step past that, I realized that there actually are a lot of really good practical uses. And so we'll share some today, but definitely an ongoing conversation. I will say that in terms of my school's receptiveness, we do have an AI committee. It's called the MAGIC Committee, Marlborough AI Generative Intelligence Committee. And so it is something that my school is looking towards and is kind of accepted as a part of the future at our school, but it certainly has not come without a lot of bumps. We had to reinstate our academic integrity council because of AI plagiarism that had kind of fallen off. So we've been going through it, but we are embracing it. So I can talk a little bit more about how we're doing that, but I'll turn it over to Claire right now.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Maggie. So hi, I'm Claire Wilkins. I'm from the German Swiss International School in Hong Kong. So it's morning for me here, but my journey into AI. I definitely was not a early adopter, and definitely would call of myself, even though ostriches actually don't do this, I would have called myself an ostrich for putting my head in the stand and being very adverse to AI at the beginning. I was adamant that they could never replicate or do anything part of my job, and that I needed to do it all independently, and that it was just opening up a Pandora's box. And I still think that about a few areas where AI may get involved, but I have absolutely, like Maggie, found ways, and actually through helping with this Revolution Prep presentation, found ways where it can make things more efficient without losing the personal touch in counseling, without losing that, the side of me in the role. And it's really allowed our teachers to be able to utilize it in different ways that has really been helpful. So there are some areas where I use it regularly and some other areas where I'm just dabbling. And certainly we can talk about that over this session. As far as our school is concerned, we're sort of ignoring that it was a part of the process for a little while, and got caught on the back foot and have had to make some really quick adjustments. And we're still looking into that. We're looking in the best ways to implement policies with regard to the use of AI. When other organizations make announcements about how it's allowed or not allowed, then that also obviously makes things a little bit difficult for us. We're an IB school, and when the IB has said, as long as you cite, it's fine, that's made it a little hard for us to have a definitive policy, but we are working on it. For the most part, if students are using it responsibly, then we are promoting that, but we are keeping an eye on how they utilize it as well. And over to you, Sarah. Sorry.
Great. Oh, that's okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Sara Miranda. I'm the Executive Director of College Counseling at the Chadwick School in Palos Verdes, California. It's nice to be here with you all. I started at Chadwick last year, and I can remember one of the first things that I had to do was sit in on like a discipline meeting to decide what we were going to do about the students that were using AI to do their academic work. And right, that was barely August of last year, right? And now I think things look a lot different. I think we're encouraging students and trying to teach and model behavior about the appropriate use of AI academically and otherwise, and trying to do that a lot in our day-to-day work with students. So some of what we'll show you today is meant to be sort of the toolkit for college counselors, but the truth is at any point when you're sitting with a kid and need an answer to a question, like opening AI up and having it help us with whatever the task might be at hand, whether it's one more college to toss onto the list or one more place to visit over the spring break tour, or to tone check or recommend a chopping of 25 words on the essay that's too long. I mean, if you find creative ways to use it more efficiently with your students when you're sitting in real time with a task at hand, I found that to be a really, really helpful use. I think each of us have been tapped individually by RevPrep at some point or other to, hey, would you be willing to present with us at this conference that we see that you're going to? And it kind of turned into this guide, and I wasn't planning on being a published author in the AI space because I still consider myself like barely a intermediate beginner, but I was like, wow, maybe I do know some things. And it's been really cool to collaborate with folks across different parts of the world that all have been contributing to this same sort of working document as we've improved. We're trying to share all that with you and not, not keep any secrets here. Like if our jobs can be easier collectively, given what we all have to go through in this profession, like please God, let's have it be a little bit easier. So I think that's a lot of what we're here to do today, is to show you sort of the direct application of prompts that you could be using to enhance the work that you're doing, to streamline it, to make it more efficient, to make it easier, whatever it might be. So thank you guys so much for being here today. I think we've got a poll. It's on the
We
screen.
do.
Am I right?
Quick poll, just to get a sense of where you all are who are listening today. Great. Yeah, so it seems like we have some varying comfortability with AI. Also kind of very varied in how your organizations are approaching the use of AI, which, it's a little bit more evenly split. So yeah. All right, so let's get to our guide. Let's go through it. Let's talk through it. Our plan is to talk through the guide, talk through some of these prompts, and then do some breakouts just to maybe show you how some of these prompts can be used in real time. Also show you perhaps how easy it is to utilize some of these tools, or to utilize these prompts, or to even just edit these prompts in real time, maybe when you're sitting, like Sara said, with a student in your office. I really do think that there is benefit to working with students and showing them how you're using AI, because I think we do have a responsibility to show students how to responsibly use AI. So showing them how we use it, I think is good modeling on our behalf. But if we start off here, the few things I will say, which we've talked a lot with Ben Neely at RevPrep about, but a few things that I think are always worth mentioning before we start a conversation about AI, is this idea of, we're calling it artificial intelligence, but it's not real human intelligence, right? It is fact regurgitation. It is only as knowledgeable as the knowledge it has. It can't really think or analyze like humans quite yet. And so I think it's important to always recognize that there are some limitations, that in some ways, this does not replicate human thinking, but there's a lot of information it can gather in a very quick amount of time to really help in what we're doing. Another thing that this has definitely come up at my school, I don't know if this has come up at other schools, but this idea that like AI is coming for your data. I think that that's something that you really have to think about. And as you are implementing AI programs into your schools, it's always worth a conversation with your IT team, and really having that conversation about what kind of student data can we put in AI. My school, we do try to anonymize it as much as possible. Although we did just get approval for college counseling to get a paid version of AI. We haven't decided exactly what AI program we're going to do a paid version for, but we are going to migrate over to a paid version. We're potentially considering just starting with paid ChatGPT, kind of the basic start all of AI in a way. But a lot of times when you are paying for a version, it does allow you to toggle off the fact that students, it does allow you to say like, don't use my data anywhere else. And so if there is that level of concern, there are versions that do allow you to protect your students' data a little bit more. In general, though, we feel pretty comfortable if we're anonymizing it and not putting any identifying student information, no names, we're using, random numbers for students instead of names, that we feel pretty comfortable using it. And then I think it's also important to know that because this isn't actually intelligent, like it can make stuff up. It will take what it thinks is the best answer, but the answers aren't always correct. And so that is kind of where I have found my professional judgment to come in, to be able to kind of look at it and be like, wait, that doesn't sound right, or I know that's not true. And that's something that we as professionals can do. That's something that I think is a little harder for our students to do. They are, still developing and still learning, but something I always keep in mind, kind of checking what it's spitting out and making sure, based on my knowledge, that it feels accurate and correct, because that's not always the case. It's just kind of sharing information it knows, and it doesn't guarantee it's right. So to kick off the guide, and we can share this guide with you, maybe Jasmine, we can share this guide in the chat, the link to the guide. But just kind of before we dive into some of the prompts that we wanted to talk about, here are some just best practices, right? Some of them, if you've kind of played around with AI before, these will be, very apparent to you. If you are just starting to use AI, these are kind of good guidelines to keep in mind. The first one, just being clear, you want to give AI and any AI program you're using as much detail as possible. And you can be very, very specific with it. If you want to say like, you put in all of these notes from a meeting and you upload it to the AI program and say, summarize these notes, it will do that. But if you have a specific format that you wanted it, please summarize these notes in 3 paragraphs, including X, Y, and Z. It can do that too. You can ask it to do it in paragraph form, in a bulleted list. You can ask which items came up the most in the notes. So, you can be very, very clear in what you're asking it. And that kind of leads into the second point, kind of being ready to revise your instructions. I can't tell you how many times, and I don't know if Sara and Claire would agree, I put in a prompt and what I get back is kind of garbage, but then I go in and I edit it and I tweak it, and then all of a sudden it's starting to give me information I need. And once I come to a place where I have a prompt that I really, really like, I always save it so that I can use it in the future. But a lot of times my initial go isn't perfect. It requires editing and tweaking to really get it to do what I want to do. Be specific, the model can't guess for you. So make sure you really provide it with exactly what you need. I need a list of 12 colleges. Please create a presentation with 14 slides. Like, you can be so specific. And you can also give it steps. You can say, first review this, then do this, then provide me this. And so know that it also, and you can do that all in one prompt. You can give it a list of things to do. And some of our examples here will show you that. But know that it can kind of do things all in one prompt, even if you provide it different steps and different sets of instructions. So Claire, are you kicking us off with student questionnaires?
That's me,
Oh, it's
actually.
Sara. Great.
Yeah, yeah. So I would imagine that many of us, particularly at independent schools, right? Or maybe not, maybe at any school, right? A questionnaire is an easy way to get at the pulse of what a student is up to and what their thinking is, and to have a recordable place that I can refer back to before someone walks into my office to say, wait, remind me. Or in the case of a parent questionnaire, I hate to say it, when they're beautifully written, can be perfect fodder for a letter recommendation that just writes itself practically, right? Why use ChatGPT when you can use a beautiful parent's own prose about their beautiful, lovely, intelligent, vibrant student? Just kidding. But we wanted to show you sort of the option to have a questionnaire. Maybe you don't have a questionnaire. Maybe it hasn't been overhauled in a really long time. Maybe you're looking for ways to kind of punch it up. Being able to use AI to come up with ideas for what you could be asking and put it all together for you, potentially could be really valuable. One of the things that we wanted to do at Chadwick was not just have our sort of standard fare. When I joined last year, it was a lot of sort of like Likert scale responses, like how comfortable are you with this, and how big or small would you like a school to be? And it didn't really. I would rather ask those questions in person and have something more substantive in written form that I could hear from a student in their own words, what they're looking for, what their interests are, what they'd like to study. And I feel like this really helped us to come up with some creative ways to tackle some questions. What we ended up doing was integrating sort of just regular sort of run-of-the-mill standard fare questions that I'd expect, but it did it for me in 5 seconds versus my 4 hours, right? That's the difference. But then also trying to pepper our questionnaire with some fun things. And one of the things that we did was took the USC sort of supplemental quick questions or fast facts and asked it to integrate that for us too, which is kind of like right in the middle of all of these like hearty paragraph responses. We've got them commenting on who their ideal roommate would be and what their favorite snack is and all of that stuff. And it just did all of that for us so quickly and so sort of effortlessly. One of the other things that we decided to integrate last year, both in the student questionnaire and in the parent questionnaire, was to ask who students and families identified as their thought partners in the process of applying to college. And I really worked actually just with ChatGPT to come up with a kind and polite way to say, are you working with an independent counselor? I don't care if they're working with an independent counselor. I just would like to know if they are. But it did a nice job of coming up with sort of the naming conventions of all of the things that an independent could be called. Because how many times have we been told, no, I don't have an independent counselor. I just have a tutor slash nanny slash essay coach that helps me every Tuesday and Thursday from 5 to 7, of course, right? So this helped me kind of triage all of the different naming conventions of people who work and operate in the college counseling space and ask a question that actually our families last spring, I was really worried that they were going to think that like I was trying to judge them for their choice. And that wasn't true at all. They answered the question. I think a lot of people answered it honestly. Of course, not everyone, but a lot of people gave us more in-depth answers than I was expecting by it just phrasing so gently, who are your thought partners on this journey? Might you be working with a community-based organization or an independent college counselor or an essay coach or I don't remember what else it said, but lots and lots of words. And that got people to be honest and forthright with us, which was really great. So that's just one example of a way in which you could use this. But our parent questionnaire, I think, is really helpful just to kind of get at the pulse of where they are in the process and where their aspirations might differ from what the students' aspirations are, and just to have a written record of those things. So I couldn't stress enough that just like having this as a great tool to start if you've got nothing, or if you've got something that's a little bit tired and is in real need of a redo. So that's kind of my take on the student questionnaire piece. I think I've got the next one too, which I helped put here into the guide. And this one I actually did write for the Rev Prep guide because I literally just did this fall. We were going on a college tour. It was our second one that we'd ever done at Chadwick this fall. And I didn't really want to outsource the work to someone who was going to make lots of money and take my Marriott points and not maybe have my best interests in mind. So I ended up working with a travel agent just to book flights, and I ended up working with OpenAI pretty much to help me come up with a route that made the most sense. We were going to be bringing a group of sophomores and juniors on a trip. I had some idea in mind that I wanted to start in DC and get as close to the South as I could. And it kind of helped scaffold that for me, right? So by just, again, it's the trial and error, what Maggie was talking about. On the first try, I didn't get anything, right? Or it was listing schools to visit in the DC metro area that, frankly, as a college counselor, I haven't heard of a lot before. And I knew weren't going to engender families signing up and paying lots of money to come on this trip with me if they were going to places they don't know about. But I also knew that it would be really helpful to find different kinds of colleges at different sizes, at different selectivity levels, which mattered to me a lot because I wasn't really too interested in just parading our students around campuses that they could never, ever get into. So using, in essence, ChatGPT to help with kind of curating a travel itinerary, being the travel agent for me to just put pins in a Google map and show me what the best route might be, where the points of interest in tourism could be, what local things were happening in the area. This may or may not have led to us going to the opening basketball game for Duke. Could be because of this, right? Could be. I won't confirm or deny that, but we might have done that. And just figuring out what made the most sense. And then when I got a little bit better at it, it not only was just telling me, oh, you should go to Catholic University, it was providing me in a spreadsheet format the list of schools and the direct links to the group visit request page and putting all of that information in one easy to find place. And then I could sort of take it from there and use that as a jumping off point. And it's not as if I've forgotten how to do my job, right? Like I know how to look up a college's group visit site. I know how to sign up to request more information, how to write to the rep. But the fact that it can do all of that for me so quickly at a time of the year when I don't feel like I have a ton of bandwidth, it just was a streamlining and efficiency. That for me is more the point. It's not that it curated the exact perfect list, that it did 90% of the work for me. And then I could do the editing and involve myself in ways that was far more helpful for me than having to sit and spend hours plotting different colorful pins on a Google map that I'd then forget how to use in 2 months. So I found that to be pretty helpful. And I'll show you guys how to walk through some of these things in just a little bit later on in the presentation. So I think I'm turning it to Claire now. Yeah.
I think so. Yes.
Awesome. Great.
So this is actually, it's good that, you know, Maggie, you've chosen this one for me because this is where I had like the biggest resistance. I was like, heck no, I am not using AI to write my letters of recommendation. I'm proud of the way I write. I write beautifully is what I was telling myself. I'm advocating for my students in these and I'm really getting the nuance correct and all that, which I still stand by. I write pretty good letters of recommendation, I think. But I told myself I was going to try it because, you know, we don't have a huge cohort. And our graduating class is about 75 students, but every single one of my kids applies ED to the US. And so it's a lot of like letters of recommendation that I have to write. And I wanted to make sure that my letters were not sounding similar across the way. So I at least wanted to be having AI help me analyze my letters of recommendation. So that's how I started with it first. I first said, let's have AI look at a couple of letters of recommendation that I've written to see what it says about it and whether or not I trust what it says, believe what it says, etc. To sort of get me with a level of comfort using AI with letters of recommendation. And then I had to go a couple of times with using a prompt similar to this, where I sort of took my notes, because I take handwritten notes of all my kids, and then I type them up and put them in, which is already a bit of a waste of time that AI can help me with. But took my notes and on the student, all of their activities, and popped it in just to sort of see what would come through. And the first time it was horrible. It was absolutely very clearly written by AI. It had no personality. It had no oomph. If anybody had read it, they would just sort of said, oh, this person had phoned it in. But then I started to see this as not a tool to write a letter of recommendation for me, but to give me a structure, to sort of group things together, to just make the process a little bit quicker for me for each of my letters of recommendation. And so I found that most useful for me. I still don't believe that AI should be used to write your full letter of recommendation, but I definitely think if you want to toy with moving from a prose letter of recommendation to a bullet point letter of recommendation, if you want to take all of your ideas and see how they may be better organized, if you want to take your letters of recommendation for that year and make sure that they are sounding sort of unique and individual for each student, that you're not reusing perhaps phrases, that they really are becoming distinct, then AI can help you with that, either with analyzing or with just putting that quick structure together for you. So then you can take it away and you completely add your own spin to it. So that's where I am at with using it right now. Again, there are different ways that you could enter in the prompt. There are different ways that you could use it for letters of recommendation. There's a tool actually that I use, and I'll talk about it probably in the breakouts as well, but there's a website called magicschool.ai that I came across and I use, and it has a letter of recommendation generator. It has a questionnaire generator for presentations, for lesson plans, etc. So all of these different individual AI tools within the website itself, which are almost all free for you to use, that helps you with sort of the prompt generation and helps you with that organization. So if you are just sort of dabbling and putting your toe in, it helps you figure that out. Then once you feel like you've mastered a little bit, then you can go into the more complicated, AI platforms and start creating your own prompts and messing around from there. But so, yes, so for the letters of recommendation, I have mostly used it to give me an outline or to group things together in a more coherent way, so that just to make that initial preparation process a little more quick. So then I can spend the time on really thinking about, how do I get to the essence of who this student is and really representing it through my own words. And especially as I think you build relationships with universities, they get to know you as a counselor. They do have a certain expectation of a kind of reference that you might write, whether that's you're British and it's a very straightforward, this is a student is very satisfactory, and you mean that they're the best that you've ever seen in your life, or you're someone who's a little more effusive and a little bit more colorful in how you describe the student. I still want the universities to receive what they're expecting from me, and to know that that was still Claire who's putting her weight and her her whole support behind the student. And so I will always still be adding in those personal touches, and I think you have to, because otherwise it can be clearly shown that someone else has written it, and that's something obviously we don't want to model, as Sara said, for our students either. We want to make sure that we're using this for ideation, we're using this for organization, but we're not using it for the complete creation of a letter of recommendation. So I think the next one that I have is presentation outlines. So here is also like an amazing time saver. So if any of you are like me and just, no matter how many presentations I have made, I still fiddle, and I'm fiddling with sort of like where things should go. And there's a lot of planning that goes into presentations, or we have some presentations that are like from the dinosaur era, with tons and tons of text on them. And I need to revise all of these presentations for all of our coffee mornings that we do for our families. And it takes a ton of time if you're doing each one individually. But if you have an existing, first of all, presentation where you can pop that in, you can pop the information for the slides in and say, can you make this more concise? Can you organize it more coherently? Give it specific instructions for what you want. That editing process, that revamping process is lickety-split, done so quickly. If you've got a new presentation, let's say you want to present on your parents for AI, right? You want to put something together, in putting in a prompt like this, bullet points of what you want to cover, and then it will actually create even the individual slides for you. What should be on each slide? What kind of content should be there? There are even AI products that will create the slides for you with imagery, etc. So you can really maximize the time that you need to actually spend with students, with advising them, with getting to know them, with building your rapport, and not on sort of the more administrative side of things. It also is something that then allows me to better utilize our administrative assistant, because I can say, here's what I want. And she can go away and put it together and then come back to me and say, how does this look? And in that time, I've been able to get to all of the sort of more in-depth parts of my job. And then she's also learning through the process as well, what these different elements are of our college counseling curriculum, what I'm looking for. And I just have to sort of do some fine tuning and some edits afterward. So this is a great time saver that if you are either revamping or creating new slides, you know, and you can even turn this into not just presentations, but it could be into a booklet or into, you know, an infographic or an informational leaflet that you may want to give to your families as well. So though this is initially a prompt that starts off with a presentation or with about slides, it could be creating your own guide like we have done for you today by using AI. So lots of different ways that you can use this to really maximize your time that you need to be spending on other things, especially if you have a large cohort, as I know many of you might do. So I think that's all I've got for those two at this stage. We can go into a lot more detail into the breakouts, and we can hand it over to you, Maggie.
Sounds good. So some of the other things I would say, kind of the two final prompts that you'll find on here, get into a little bit more of the specifics of like an individual student's college journey. And one of the things that I have found AI to be very useful with is thinking about list building. And there's a lot of ways to use it for list building. I would say the way that I started really playing around with using AI for list building was when I had a student come to me and say, okay, I kind of want to stay on the West Coast for college, but I'm really interested in material science engineering. What school should I apply to? And, you know, as much as I think we pride ourselves on knowing a lot of different schools and what they offer and what they can do, there is just no way for us to know every school and every major that they offer on the West Coast, and especially in California. What UCs or CSUs offer these very specific engineering majors. Are there any schools in the Pacific Northwest if they want to stay, you know, on the West Coast? I'm not thinking of. And so, you know, sometimes it's just as simple as, can you give me a list of colleges in this specific location that has this engineering program or this specific major? And then please include the size of the school, the acceptance rate, and a link to, you know, their website or something like that. Sometimes, you know, I have found it very easy when a student says, I want to major in dance. So what are the best dance programs in the country? So sometimes it's a really straightforward search, just to kind of start to generate a list. But as I've kind of played around with this more and started to think about how there are so many kind of multifaceted ways you can use AI, and there are ways that like you can ask AI to talk you through something with step-by-step question and answers and results. This has actually become a tool that I have used with students now. And so if we get down into this more like comprehensive list building part, when I have students that are feeling a little bit more lost on where to start, even suggesting schools to me or throwing out just a few names so we can begin to talk about their list, I've actually last year was able to sit down and open up AI and kind of do a more comprehensive search with them. And it's been really useful. And, you know, I know that I'm very lucky to work at a school that has a lot of tools, but sometimes all of the resources in SCORE are a little bit overwhelming for some students. You know, some aren't quite ready or, you know, have the ability to take in all of the information that it provides. And so this is a way for them to sit down and kind of do a little bit of an exercise with AI to start to build a list of colleges. And so what you can kind of do is almost ask AI to like interview you. You can say, I'm a high school student. I'm trying to make my list of colleges. I want you to ask me questions. I want you to ask me questions about what I want to study in college, about what I do outside of the classroom, about my, you know, interests, if I'm undecided, if I'm not. And you can kind of say, ask me a series of questions. And, you know, AI will actually do that. And then you can say, after you ask me a series of questions, please share a list of colleges that offer these majors that fit my interests. And you can even go as much as say, like, tell me where they are, tell me my chances of being admitted, tell me if they are a reach, a target, or a likely. And so I've literally cut and pasted this comprehensive list building prompt to students so many times if they're really just struggling for a place to start. You know, is this going to be the end all be all of their college list? Probably not, but it at least gets them thinking. It at least gets them answering questions in a way that some students are much better doing when they are sitting, thinking alone in front of their computer than just sitting in my office for the first time, kind of feeling a little bit more on the spot. So it's really interesting. And, you know, we can play around with this a little when we go into breakouts, but it's really interesting to see the suggestions that it gives. I would say, you know, I always have them share with me what it gives. I would not say that they get a total comprehensive list at the end of it. I would say that the list is something that is very, very usable and something I can build off once I have a sense of the types of schools that are flagging. So this has been a really useful way for me to show students how AI might be a useful tool for them in their college process that goes beyond maybe the essay writing or the idea generation, which in our office we try to steer away from. We still want them to have their own ideas and their own idea generation evident in their essays and their applications, but there are definitely ways that it can be used for research to help them feel like their college search is thoughtful and comprehensive. The final one, which is a little bit like what Sara talked about in terms of doing a college tour, but I have found this specific one really, really helpful. When I get an email from a family in January that says, hey, we're going to be on the East Coast the second week of spring break. We are going to be in New York. Maybe we'll go up to Boston. What are some colleges we can visit while we're there? And this prompt is so helpful to say, I have a family that's going to be, you know, in the Northeast for 4 days. They'd like to spend 2 days in New York, 2 days in the Boston area, and want to consider schools that have strong humanities programs. They'd like to only consider schools that have less than 5,000 students. And, you know, can you give me a list of schools, including driving distance between each school? Can you include a link to sign up for this school's information session? Can you include the acceptance rate for each school? Can you include driving directions? I mean, you can make this as specific as a family would need. And so you get that email that says, oh, hey, I was wondering, could you suggest some schools to visit? And probably in less than 10 minutes, you can have a whole 4-day itinerary made out for them. And you're going to send it back to them and they're going to think, wow, this is amazing. This is so comprehensive. I can't believe you were able to do this. And really, with the use of AI, it becomes really simple to do. So I've been using it a lot for that. I don't respond to families in 4 minutes. I want them to think I worked really, really hard on it. But I think that it has been really useful when we just get a family that says, oh, my family's vacationing, you know, in North Carolina this summer. Any schools they can visit? How do we go about that? Should we drive? Should we fly? You know, you can really tailor some prompts in AI to get them a pretty comprehensive list with the information that they need without having to look up individual school tour dates or anything like that. So that has been super useful when I get those kinds of requests from families to help them in their college search, since they're willing to devote time to visit colleges, help them in any way that I can. So that's kind of the guide. Those are the big 6. There are other ones that might come up in our individual breakouts. I think, you know, I was thinking about, I've also used this to prepare students for interviews. There's a lot of great tools to help students prepare for interviews in AI. So we can talk about that in breakouts, but those are the big ones that we have found useful. I think we're ready.
My favorite additional one is note taking. So there's a bit of a sensitivity issue, and you've got to make sure that you get permission, obviously, depending on where you are, especially if you're in Europe with GDPR. But when we have a family meeting, to avoid any future, well, we didn't agree to that, or I wasn't sure what we were saying, or that's not what our thought was. We actually now use Fathom, which is a free program as well, to record all of our video calls and even sometimes our in-person meetings with students and parents, because It then will summarize the meeting, give you it'll have a transcript, but it'll also summarize it, give you the action items that you have discussed, the next steps, etc. So it allows me to copy and paste those notes into Maya, so I've got a record of it. But then it also allows me to really quickly put together the follow-up email for the family saying, all right, this is the conversation we had. Here's where we agreed, where we disagreed. This is where we landed. And, looking forward to the next meeting. And these are the steps that we have planned moving forward. So that's another invaluable way, I think, to be using AI if you get the permission of those involved to really be doing your note taking for you.
Agree. So I think now we're going to jump in some breakout rooms. I think we're going to show you some live demos of some of these prompts. We might have some other ones that we use that we'll show. But to kind of show you in some, I was planning on just using ChatGPT, which is kind of my go-to just to open it up when I need something quick, but just to show you what this looks like and how we, kind of use it. And then we'll come back for final Q&A.
Sorry, Marcia, you got cut off there. But thank you for sharing that. And apologies that it cut you off.
No problem.
Okay, any questions we can answer? We have a few more minutes. Thank you all for coming and listening. Like we said, we are just kind of dabbling around with this, but have found it useful in our day-to-day, roles. So any questions you have or any thoughts or anything you've used that you found to be really helpful?
Maggie, we had some questions in the chat about sort of maybe some tips just on sort of best practices and how to choose between the overwhelming number of tools. So maybe you would like to address that.
Yeah, I will say the best practices, I feel very fortunate that a lot of my best practices came out of the committee that we have at our school. But I think for the most part, if you really were to look at them, the best practices came out of common sense. Like beware sharing student data, practices around idea generation, thinking about not using AI for idea generation, but instead using it for, maybe editing or narrowing down or, framing your ideas, but to make sure that the ideas are truly your own. Those are the biggest ones that come up for us. Like idea generation, not using AI for idea generation, and making sure student data is protected. I would say those are the two big ones. In terms of which program to use, I don't know. Do either of you have any thoughts? I use a lot of them. I would say my go-to is ChatGPT for the easy stuff, but I have used the other one that you mentioned before, Claire, is really good. Honestly, I don't think I have one so far that I'm like completely tied to.
I've been using Poe for the simple stuff.
Yeah.
And then, and as I said, Magic School for sort of some more sort of creative areas. But then I'll also sort of see what each will do. So I'll go into Poe, then I'll go into ChatGPT, and I'll say, well, what is one doing that the other is or isn't doing? So I will compare. I think one of the things, sort of best practices or warning, if you are going to be using this with your students, in particular with essays, is, this is a very sort of American focused conversation, but my kids apply all over the world, in particular in the UK, where the UK universities are all using Turnitin and other programs to make sure that there isn't any duplication or plagiarism. And you need to be careful about putting in whole essays, etc., into some of the AI platforms for review, because they, especially if you're not using a paid version, because they then go into the interwebs and can sometimes interfere with a student's the plagiarism checker for a student, particularly with UK applications. So you need to be a little careful there.
Yeah, and Kate said in the chat that the UCs use Turnitin, and I do believe that they do as well. I
Yeah.
will say, like, we don't even at my school, our teachers use Turnitin if they have any suspicions about student work. We have banned actually Grammarly. At my school, students are not allowed to even use Grammarly because it has too many AI updates and it actually creates flags quite frequently, we have found. So our students, we're a Google-based school, they're only allowed to use like the grammar checker in Google Docs. So with the essays, it's a little stickier. I will say, I don't know about the two of you or any of you, but now that it's been around for a while, I found myself pretty easily able to tell which essays were AI generated when I read them. And I was like, if I can tell, the colleges definitely can.
Right.
And we're not really in a position yet. I would just kind of write, hey, let's think about rephrasing this. It sounds a little bit AI generated. Like, I wouldn't accuse, it's not my place to do it, but I would just let them know if I thought it sounded a little too, a lot of times it's very wordy and a lot of big
Didn't
words.
say much.
Yeah,
A lot of words, doesn't say much. I will
yes.
say, those of you who haven't maybe done this exercise, if you do an essay writing workshop, or if you're ever putting sample essays that have worked well for students, for kids to workshop in front of them, tossing an AI generated one into the mix, kids will figure it out too. Maybe you bury the lead a little bit. You don't tell them straight out of the gate that that's what you're doing, but we send kids home on our 2-day essay writing workshop with 4 essays to read and to come back and then to debrief in small groups and discuss what they liked and didn't like and what resonated and what didn't. And, kind of like a mock committee of sorts. And no one called it AI because they really had no idea, but they're like, yeah, this just really was a missed opportunity. This student, like, it was written well, but it didn't say anything about them. I didn't really think I learned anything about them. I'm like, well, God, it just couldn't have been more beautiful than the students on their own figuring that out and working it all out. It was quite incredible. So I think I saw questions. Sarah, maybe gone the other. Oh, there she is. Okay. You're on mute.
Yeah, just I had this experience actually today with one of my students, Latino students, who, I mean, it's a really, really interesting guy, really bright kid. But he put out this just absolutely brilliant, brilliant essay about what he sort of learned about leadership, being in a military school, and it was amazing. But I said, so like, how much of this did you actually write yourself? The idea is clearly his own, but the writing, super sophisticated. And he said, well, a friend at a university helped me. And I said, so he said, don't they want to see like the best writing possible? Don't they want to know that, that I can write really well? I said, yes, that's exactly what they want to know. And I said, I'm spent a lot of time in grad school right now at School of Education, and a lot of my colleagues are using this kind of language, but absolutely not at the high school level. So I said, we can go back over it, and really work through, like, what ideas are you really trying to get across, and what is some of your own language. So sort of working in reverse.
Yeah.
But the other thing that we've been doing in our workshops, because, I mean, the school started out sort of trying to, block and say, no, you can't. But I've also, been at so many workshops at the college level recently. And it's like, it's a losing battle. So the idea of trying to get more creative with the students themselves. So we had them write their own essays and sort of peer collaboration on reviewing it. And then at the end of it, we said, okay, we talked about the importance of a really kicky opening line and a really solid closing, to really say what you want to say in your essay, what you want to convey to the college admission folks. And what we were saying is, like what I was saying to my student today, you don't want to submit something that a college admission person is just going to say, okay, thanks for playing, but you're out.
Yep.
So, but to be able to then put your own essay into ChatGPT, and say, can you come up with a few other opening lines for me? Or can you come up with a few other conclusions for me? And then, so come up with 3 or 4, and then again, we peer review, and it's like, that's like a little bit closer to what I was trying to say. that conclusion. It's like, oh yeah, I hadn't really thought of it quite like that, but my language is more like this. And so, you know, because they're going to use it, they are going to use it, right? So to figure out how to use it more creatively, more productively, more personally, as opposed to, you know, blocking, grammar, blocking, whatever. I mean, I get that too. I get the need for that, but they're doing a lot of work. Some of the MIT classes are on the intersection of creativity and AI. And it's absolutely fascinating. A little bit terrifying, but absolutely fascinating.
Agreed.
So anyways, I just want to say thank you so much for, you know, all of these conversations. I've, you know, been trying to be in them for the last couple of years. So yay for y'all. Yeah.
You got to start somewhere, right?
Thank you all so much
Thank
for
you.
coming tonight. We do have another session next week if you're interested in going even deeper with prompts. So next week you can come and hear from Ben Neely at Revolution Prep and from Jeff O'Neill. I'll drop the link to where you can register for that section that's happening next week. And really thank you all for coming tonight and engaging with us. We hope you enjoyed this session. Thank you to Maggie, Claire, and Sara for leading for us. And if you have time, there is a survey for this event that you can fill out. Thank you all.
Jeff and Ben are super entertaining, so definitely attend that session. They are so much more knowledgeable than we are, but they're great fun. So attend that session.